Well, good morning, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola and another one of our Coffee Talk Lives, but not just another one. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, good. This is going to be superlative.
Absolutely.
A great conversation and very timely. I am with Greg Higgerson, and he is the Chief Development Officer with Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida. Welcome.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Welcome to downtown Kissimmee.
What a beautiful morning. Perfect temperature. It's not sunny beating down on us.
I prayed this morning for overcast.
Yeah, that's what we got.
You know it, and it's like a natural filter. This is beautiful here, right?
Oh, it is. A great setting. I was thinking that as I drove down through downtown Kissimmee, and man, I don't get down here often enough. That's for sure.
They're doing a good job. City of Kissimmee working hard in a lot of different ways. And, you know, that's a tough road to hoe, really.
Yeah.
These days, everybody's busy. And so when you talk about, you know, development and improvements, it's a big deal.
Yep.
I would feel bad if I didn't mention exactly where we are. We are on the corner of Orlando Avenue and Bryan, downtown Kissimmee near the courthouse. So we're at Susanna's Cafe. And for some reason, we've been anchored here with our conversations lately because it's just so nice.
It is. Not too much noise, and the coffee is great. A really good way to start the day.
I missed it just like this last time with another guest. The food is off the chain here.
Really?
Yes. There's everything.
Another reason to come back.
It's great. So customer service is the only thing better than the food. So today we're really going to be a timely talk. Lots of talk of folks who are in need of food assistance, food insecurity, and I think we all have a perception of what that is, maybe.
Yeah.
And so great to be able to talk to you about what that is, the changing face of food insecurity. So what does that look like to you as, first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about Second Harvest Food Bank of Florida, how long you've been with that organization?
Sure.
And what is the lion's share of what you guys do? Obviously, I kind of know, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So Second Harvest Food Bank has been around in Central Florida collecting and distributing food for 43 years now. We opened our doors back in 1983, and, you know, it has just been a steady kind of growth into that unmet need since then. I mean, a growth curve that's just been off the charts. I joined our staff as development director back in 1996 when we were expanding into a new building and having what we call a capital campaign to raise money for a new building so we could grow. And so 29 years that I've been there, I've seen a lot of changes both to the organization and the community during that time. You know, and along the way, there have been those spikes in community need that are always related to economic challenges that people are facing. And, you know, just the country and the economy and the community has changed so much during that period of time. When I joined the staff, we were distributing enough food for about 6 million meals a year. Today, fast forward 29 years, it's enough last year for about 83 million meals. Yeah, so there's been, as I say, a big growth curve. And nowadays we're, with the support of the community, we're able to do other things that impact food insecurity as well, like job training. We have a culinary training program at our Orlando facility with a commercial kitchen, teaching people the skills they need to go out and find jobs as line cooks in the hospitality industry, in the restaurant industry. It's been amazing. We've graduated 538 people through that program, helped place them into jobs. And these are folks, you know, that, you know, have faced a lot of challenges up to that point in their life, and they just needed some marketable skills and some life skills training on the side of that kitchen training so that they can keep the job once they get it, you know, things like financial literacy and problem solving and how to communicate in a, you know, kitchen environment and things like that are really the secret sauce of that program. But yeah, so we've been around a long time. We're moving, you know, as I mentioned, you know, tens of millions of meals a year. We do that through a network of about 850 other feeding programs throughout 7 counties. So not just Osceola, but Orange, Seminole, Lake County, Volusia County, Brevard County, and now up in Marion County as well, so serving the Ocala area.
So it was daring that you were going to go through all 7 of those counties.
Yeah, I usually, yeah, exactly, and you pull that that routine they had in the presidential debate a while back, or like Department of Energy, you know, they couldn't remember, but I do that sometimes.
You and everyone else. That's why I'm laughing. I remember, this is totally sidebar, and if you're listening, because you maybe years ago I don't like to introduce like 8 people when you're asking for it.
Right.
And the one person I was directly related to be at this particular event, I went to everybody else and got to her on that. I'm your friends. You had to tell me.
Absolutely.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Still reminds me of that day.
Well, as a fundraiser, if you start naming off sponsors for something, you better name every last one, or
there's no shame.
You're in trouble. That's right. That's right.
All right. So let me ask you this: so obviously numeric, much changed, right? No,
definitely
some population relation to that, maybe, and then overall, I think when populations increase to the level that we have seen in Central Florida, we say it all the time: secrets out. You know, it's a cool place to live.
Sure.
It's not this weather and the rest of the country a lot of times. So you see those numerics climb. Have you seen that demographics is in ages climb, because people don't move down to just being adults? So has it also encompassed like the younger generation as well? Yeah,
definitely. And like what we're finding is in recent years, young working families especially, because they're the least insulated when it comes to economic challenges. They're usually 2-income households. If one of them loses a job or that kind of thing, it can kind of knock them out of the saddle financially because they're just kind of scraping by as it is. I wish I could tell you with all the millions of pounds that we distribute that it was enough. The truth is that even with government programs like SNAP and WIC and other things, and the charitable food system, we're still not fully meeting that need for food in Central Florida. We're kind of making over time, we're making an effort to get into that gap that still exists. But, every now and then something comes along that just kind of knocks you back a little bit. And so it's, 2 steps forward and 1 back is what it feels like sometimes. And we're in one of those times right now, unfortunately, where the need just surges.
I don't think we get these kind of conversations. Typically, there's like 2 syllables that come out of my mouth. It was just COVID.
That was one.
Lord,
that was a biggie.
That was a big. I think I think a lot of sectors of the community, I look back now and, certainly a devastating time for sure, in whatever way you perceive that. But I think some organizations have learned something. Did learn something.
Oh, definitely.
So, you mentioned. If we get into the SNAP conversation, we're gonna land in that for a while for sure. Which is
a little bit.
Which is okay. So, what do you kind of almost touched on it? But what things do happen? And while you were saying that, I wasn't
sure.
I wasn't being ADD land. I was kind of rewinding, and I think sometimes it's hard for somebody when they're not in their 30s, 40s, 50s.
Right.
I think they forget sometimes what it was when you were in the 20s.
Yeah.
And I think people, I'll speak for me.
Yeah.
It's easy to assess or judge a situation.
It is.
And in reality, if you look back in your 20s, I'll speak for me again. In my 20s, if something had happened to both my wife and I, or one of us, would have knocked us into a place where, and you come here, and I think I covered this one, sometimes we think that everybody who moves here knows what to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why people don't change communities, because they're like, gosh, where am I going to get my car fixed?
Yeah, exactly. It takes a while to kind of get established.
Yeah. Or if I have a problem financially, where do I go?
Yeah.
I know we're going to cover that in a second.
Sure.
But you mentioned, so there's a shutdown happening. It is not a political conversation.
Nope.
It is a reality that there are some stresses now happening.
Yeah.
Don't know when that's going to end. How has that affected what you provide and the services you provide to so many different organizations? And are they in that place where what they're needing is much increased?
Yeah, I mentioned that we're always trying to grow into a gap of unmet need. And, for us, that means, during the pandemic, we grew from 150,000 meals a day out the door to our partners to today, which is 300,000 meals a day. So double just in the last 5 years or so. And it hasn't shrunk back down to pre-pandemic levels by any stretch of the imagination. So when we have something come along like this government shutdown where, federal employees are figuring out how they're going to make ends meet. TSA workers are, they're working, but they're not getting paid. That's another layer on top of that. And then, we have almost 500,000 people or slightly over 500,000 people in Central Florida that rely on SNAP benefits as at least part of their food budget every month, which allows them to do other things, it is, that uncertainty right now, with SNAP running out less than a week ago here, with no end in sight, has got a lot of people very, very anxious. And our partner network out there in Central Florida are really just getting overrun with calls and visits and people trying to make sure that they don't have completely empty shelves. And so, in times like that, the truth is, we're not going to be able to scale up all the way to replace SNAP. I mean, just to give you some perspective on that, SNAP provides 9 meals for every 1 meal that the charitable system provides here in Central Florida. So, there's no way that we can just kind of ramp up overnight and fill that gap. So there's going to be an issue here if we don't fix it pretty quickly. But the good news is, the silver lining there is that at Second Harvest, we still do have some capacity to provide additional food if more resources come our way in the way of financial donations that we can turn into food really quickly and get out the door, non-perishable food donations, volunteers help us trim costs, things like that. So there's still some capacity to ramp up, at least on a temporary basis, if we do see some additional support. So that's what we're really looking for from the community in these next several weeks. And just, if they happen to turn the switch back on with that tomorrow, that doesn't mean it's over, because nothing happens with the government quickly, right? I mean, it takes, weeks and sometimes months to get back on track once something's been stopped. So,
so you kind of pricked a thought while you were speaking that I think we don't think about, and I'll say I don't think about enough probably. But I'm going to guess that there's no way you do what you do on a 100% volunteer basis.
No.
So with increased need comes increased cost.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we're just not going to think about, but it's for real. So
yeah.
That pressure becomes how do we function as an organization in a business setting where you guys have people that have to get paid, give expenses for what you do.
Yeah.
It's not free.
And a lot of it is, and that's a really interesting point. For many, many years, the vast majority of the products that we distributed through Second Harvest were donated products from the food industry. So manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, even USDA government commodities were a distributor of that. And all of that stuff is free to the food bank, and it still is the lion's share of what we distribute is free product. Our cost is in many, many millions of food, moving it around and receiving it in and picking it up and refrigerating it. And, every time we touch the food, it costs money. That's what we like to say. So we touch it as least as we can. We have to build efficiencies into that. But yeah, as the volume has grown, our expense side gets bigger and our team gets bigger. And, because we need more resources to make that happen, my team gets bigger as the fundraising, marketing side of things and volunteer side of things. So, it's in a business you would call it overhead, right? And nobody wants to give money for overhead. But the truth is, in food banking, in our model, whether it's trucks and drivers or our power bill or whatever it is, that stuff is our mission. Because we can't keep the food flowing without it.
There's something I think that I probably skipped over. So maybe because we talked a little bit prior.
Yeah.
And so Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida, it certainly exists in those 7 counties. Obviously, right? That's what you do.
Yeah.
However, what we see maybe in our county and cities and such, from whether it's distribution through food distributions with the county commissioners or any of the pantries we've talked about, that's how you do business here. Right?
Absolutely.
You're supplying those satellite food pantries. Distribution. So how did that become? I think it seems like it's a given, but it's not. How did that become the way you most efficiently get resources to people, as opposed to just putting satellites of your organization?
Yeah, that hub and spoke model of food banking is really how the whole concept got started. Food banking as a concept has really only been around since the late 70s, or the early 70s, I should say. A man out in Arizona, in Tucson, Arizona, actually Phoenix, I'm sorry, was working as a volunteer at a food pantry, and they actually served, it was more of a soup kitchen. They served meals on site, and he was taking all of his meals there, right? He decided that he would volunteer there, and they gave him the job of going out to dumpster dive to get the food for the soup kitchen. That was the only resource really that they had.
Right.
And he one day was dumpster diving for the soup kitchen, and met a mother of 10 children in the dumpster, and said to himself, "This is not right. This is not the way that we need to be doing this." So he cleaned himself up. He went around to the front of the food company that was dumping into that dumpster, and said, "Is there a way we can get this stuff before you get rid of it? And here's what we're going to do with it, and here's how we'll take care of it, and here's who we're helping." And they loved the idea. So he started going around to other food companies. Pretty soon, they had so much food donations coming from these companies in Phoenix that his little organization couldn't use it all. And they started involving all of the food providers, and then they established one central place. So that's kind of how food banking got started as a concept, and it is now across the country in literally every city and every county in the United States through the Feeding America national network of food banks. We're one of roughly 200 food banks in the country that do what we do. And we all follow that same basic model of, kind of a hub and spoke type of thing. And we really rely on those partner feeding programs, like the great ones here in Osceola County that are where the rubber meets the road. That's where the people go to turn for assistance, whether it's, Osceola Council on Aging, great partner. Hope Community is another great partner. Advanced Community Outreach, Pastor Fonseca, fantastic. St. Cloud Community Food Pantry. All of these are great organizations where people can go and get some help when they need it, and many others. So we're just, that's our role, is to make sure that those organizations have enough.
I think sometimes, I say this a lot. I think sometimes we get so caught up in what we see on national level news that it can make us almost feel like there aren't good things being done for others.
Yeah.
Totally not correct.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you see that because you're part of it.
Right.
And that's the reality. The reality is there's a huge glut. Hey, how are you? There's a huge glut of folks out there that what they do is trying to help.
Very much. Yeah.
That is something that if we did not have, there would be no fix.
I wish more people understood that we have so many incredible people out there that are operating these charitable food programs that are, almost entirely volunteer or entirely volunteer. And they show up every day, mostly not getting paid to do it, but it's in their heart to do this work. I think we would look at things differently if we knew how widespread that really was.
Yeah. We're super blessed that we get to hang out with some really cool people like yourself.
Likewise.
In the county, well, you mentioned Osceola Council on Aging. We've worked with them for years.
Yeah.
And, it's a crazy thing. I think sometimes people think food pantry, that means that's where all the food is. Well, that's a flash in the pan sometimes. I have been it as an example. There are many. I've gone to the Council on Aging watching food being put on shelves, and then by the end of the day, those shelves are
absolutely. That's the thing. You walk into an organization and you see what they have and think, oh, they're doing all right. And we get that all the time. I call it the Costco effect. People walk into our distribution center and they see, 2.5 million pounds of food on the shelf, and they're like, oh, they're, fat. They're a fat city. But the truth is that, if it stopped coming in one end of the building and kept going out the other end at the rate that we distribute, all of that would be gone in less than 2 weeks. So that's a reality. And
so let's focus on that real quick. And I know we could talk more about that for sure. Probably should another time. If you would come back again, I'd really
anytime.
appreciate that. So let's talk about a couple.
Wait, will there be coffee? Okay,
In
cool.
the park right next to
Yeah,
like this here.
I'll be back.
Bananas, definitely. There are so many places in Osceola County, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, delicious coffee. And, so don't be offended. We'll be stopping at your place too. But this is great. So let's talk about two things. So if somebody moves in town or they've been here for years, either way,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And I told you, we have to do something differently because whenever there's a food distribution, whether it be County Commissioner Arrington or Viviana Janer or any of the commissioners or any of the cities, without question, we always hear, as I shared with you, we always hear somebody saying, gosh, I wish I knew about this.
Right.
Or how did I not know about this? Can you do a better job telling it? Well, we're going to try to do a better job. But we did discuss ways for people to find where they can go. Would you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ways that's probably the easiest way, I think, of all is to be able to go to our website at Second Harvest. It's at feedhopenow.org. And on that website, you're going to find something called a food finder tool. And it's just really easy. You type in your zip code and it will populate with the list of our partner feeding programs that we are supplying with food that are closest to you. And it'll have contact information and addresses and all that kind of thing. The thing that we really stress, though, is that when that list comes up, do call ahead. Make sure they're open, first of all, because they're not always open 9 to 5 like a Walmart or something. They're nonprofit organizations. And also, right now, especially, they are getting overrun, and they might have the empty shelves that we were just talking about a minute ago. So, number one, if you need help with food, don't hesitate. Make that call. Get help. But be sure to call ahead and make sure that they're able to help.
So empty shelves. Let's stay on that for a second, if we could. And I want to make sure I refer back to what you said, which is, let's say the government decides all is well in the universe, and we're gonna hug and we're gonna fix this thing. Solution is amongst the bam, done. The challenges that you're now seeing in all these pantries and these distributions and the food distributions, that will not be over immediately. So how do we help you? I know this is this great food supply in the sky.
Yeah.
Not the reality. How does somebody, no matter where you live, how do we help you? Because you're helping out. You're helping us.
Yeah. Well, when we were talking earlier, you mentioned donated food and free stuff, and that's still a huge important part of what we do. Primarily, again, with the food industry. But we also, these days, since the pandemic, have had to scale up through the purchasing of food in volume to supplement all of that donated food. Right. And part of that is because over the years, food companies have gotten more and more efficient as well. And so they have, more just-in-time inventory, which means that they have less, product to donate for whatever reason that they are giving it. And we're fortunate that we still live in a country that's incredibly, bountiful, and there's a lot of extra food, and that flows through us. But we do have to purchase more than ever before. And I'm talking tractor trailer loads of product here, and that is not cheap. And so in order to maintain the level of service that we're providing right now, and even think about growing, we do need additional financial support kind of on an ongoing basis, not only to help support our individual programs like our school markets program, that partners like Wawa have stepped up to help in a big way. Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting some good support, but again, it's we have the capacity to do more, and we need to do more.
So how do if I wanted to make a financial contribution of sort, how would I do that?
Yeah, the best way to do that, again, I keep going back to the website, but it's kind of the one-stop shop for whether you need help with food or whether you have the ability to help. Feedhopenow.org is the place to go. You can make a really quick and easy financial gift there. Lots of people choose to do that even monthly. because it happens automatically and you don't have to think about it, and it really makes a huge difference over the course of a year or however long you choose to do that. There's also information on that website about non-perishable food donations, what we need most, how to get it to us, that sort of thing. Here in Osceola County, we don't have an actual physical branch like we do in, say, Volusia County or Brevard County or up in Marion. So we would recommend that if you have non-perishable food to donate, go to our website and look up the list of Osceola partner feeding programs like Council on Aging and some of the others that we've talked about, and bring it directly to them. I promise you they will accept it and be very grateful for that help.
I think there are a lot of careers, a lot of job choices that are great. But at the end of the day, you just kind of, end of the day, going home. Most every single person I've ever met that is volunteering or running or in management, any kind of leadership when it comes to a food distribution, a food bank,
right,
any kind of a food pantry, those people feel the personal discomfort, and I mean this, when the food is scarce that they're trying to bring to somebody.
For sure.
And I tell you, and it's many of the food distributions in this county, when the food runs out, they feel terrible.
There is always more cars. Yeah. There is. And that's what I mentioned before, that I wish I could tell you it was enough. And the reality is that food insecurity is a huge problem. And the charitable food system, while we're doing great things, is still pretty tiny up against that.
Yeah.
And so that is why the government piece of that is so essential. I mentioned for every meal we do, SNAP provides 9. That's a good thing. And it works. And, there's a lot of myths out there that people hear about SNAP being, incredibly fraudulent and all that. The truth is, it is one of the most effective and least fraudulent government programs out there, and is not a drain on the economy in any way. It actually adds to economic activity because it's helping support businesses. It's helping support farmers who supply the food to the retailers. All of those things add up to about $1.70 for every dollar that is given to SNAP. It's about $1.70 in economic activity. So, if you're somebody that doesn't like the idea that people are getting all these, you need to rethink that, because it's good for everybody.
I don't, my wife and I don't concern ourselves with the details of some, there may be some of what you're referring to, but the fact is that so many folks do need a helping hand.
Yeah.
They're trying to get through things, and it's not often easy. I think if you have a humongous amount of finance in your life, it's still not easy to navigate through life, right?
Right.
So I think that's very challenging for lots of folks.
Yeah, I will just add that, the stereotype of lazy loafers type of thing, it is primarily working people and working families that are relying on that. They're just not bringing home enough wage all the time to meet what they need. Or they're people that are past their working years, our seniors that are out there trying to kind of make every month work on a set amount of money. Maybe we hear stories, they're counting slices of bread to see if they're going to make it to the end of the month, things like that. And I'll tell you, it's the seniors that really get to me, because these are people that have worked hard. They've built the infrastructure that we all live with and enjoy, and they fought wars, and the idea that they're going to have to do that at the end of the month, there's something wrong with that.
Right.
And so, we as a community, we really owe it to a lot of people to help.
Yeah. My mom's 94. Lives alone.
Wow.
Super, super smart still.
Absolutely.
Very independent. Her sister is 100. And she was one of the Rosie.
The Riveters, yeah.
So, yeah. She served. And money is tight for both those ladies.
For sure.
They have to be very careful. We have to make sure that everything's good for them, and they watch what they're doing.
Yeah.
But they're still super blessed. Not everyone has that particular way of going every day. But,
sure.
You're doing a good thing. I've always said it, doing the right thing, doing a good thing is good. And you can keep it simple like that.
Yeah.
I let somebody else assess things differently. Doing a good thing is still just doing a good thing.
Makes a difference.
You guys do a good thing.
At the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Doing a good thing.
Thank you.
To continue to doing it, please help. Look at the text on this post. I'm gonna actually have him rewind it one more time. Give you the website for those who tune in late. But we do believe in what you're doing. We hope you'll continue doing it. I think we probably put things in black and white sometimes, and I think organizations like yours have a lot of gray area. And what I mean by that is you're sending people out to do what you're doing. Sometimes you don't get to know that. You know, you don't get to measure that. There's no analytic maybe where there's this huge vector of people that are blessed by what you do, and then they end up doing something that you're doing.
We don't always hear the stories of the kids that were able to prosper because of, having food, things like that, but we know they're out there. We know they're out there. So if you're in that situation where you need help, or if you're in the situation where you have stuff to provide, whether that's resources around financial resources, food resources, things like that, please get in touch with us. And the best way to do that is feedhopenow.org.
Done. Nailed it.
All right.
Good job.
Thanks.
We appreciate you. I'm the win in this one. This is a good conversation.
Cool.
And, I appreciate you very much.
My pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure. Right. Absolutely.
All right, again, folks, this has been a good conversation. Certainly very timely, as we know. In today